Hi there, it's Tina at Tina's Stitches. Welcome to my channel. This is a channel primarily about cross stitch, a bit of life thrown in, maybe a little bit of, updates on my two dogs, but yeah, it's almost exclusively cross stitch. I haven't done any other needlework craft for quite a while. Today is Sunday, November the 27th. It's been about 5 weeks since my last video. As you can tell, I'm doing much better than I had been, but I still get that same lingering cough. So, anyways, we're just going to do this while we can because it's been 5 weeks and there is a big stack beside me. I've worked on almost everything. Almost. There's a few things that are actually left in the bin under the chair. So, without further ado, let's get into the stitching. A couple of these I've only worked on for one day, and there is no particular order of how these are stacked, but it looks like right now the first couple are, those one day only projects. So I got my notes here. I hope I didn't move the camera. This one I started back in February or March, and I had been using it for my lunchtime stitching. Oh, by the way, if you're new here, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back, and thank you for hanging in with me. I know some people have reached out to me on Instagram, private messages, and thank you. Like I said, I'm getting better. Hopefully we have this figured out. So, yeah. So into the stitching we go. So this is Sunflower Sampler by, no, it's Sunflower Summer by Shepherd's Bush. Copyright 1994, so it's an older one, and as you can see, the picture is horrible. And I am stitching this on fabric that I dyed myself. It is 28 count, I believe. And here's where it was when you last saw it, if I have a picture. And here it is now. So I did change the colors a bit. Not a whole lot. Well, I mean, I did a complete color thread substitution for what I have in my stash, is what I'm trying to say. So this bit of greenery down here is new. I think the watermelon is new. And this row of strawberries is new. And that was one day of stitching. I believe that was the Sunday. Yeah. One of these days I will pull it out and just work on getting it finished, because it's not that far from being finished. Yeah. This next project is Herman of Copenhagen, sampler 1819. It's a kit that was purchased for me by my son, and I am using the kit materials. It's 35 count linen. Came with the kit, and it is very stiff. And here's where it was when you last saw it. And here it is now, and I've only worked on it one day since the last video, so honestly I'm not even sure what would be different. It only had 3 hours worth of work. But I believe it would be over here or over here. This is, it was called for 2/1 stitching, but I tried it over here and decided I didn't like it, and so I switched to 1 strand over 2, and I like it much better. It is it's an easy project to work on because it is just it's monotone. If you hear that squeaking noise, that would be my dog, Khaleesi, aka Squeaky. Yeah, she's looking at me now. Because of her health issues, she can't jump up or off of chairs, so she relies on us to do that for her. So she's also earned the nickname Princess. So she's sitting in the chair, but she's whining because she probably wants to get down. We'll see how this goes. So there is Herman of Copenhagen. This is on my Whipco board twice, and I've only gotten 19 hours total so far. My goal for Whipco is 22 hours per square, so I have 3 more hours to go for the first square, and it was called again for November, but that means that I would have Hatter, a full coverage, highly confetti heavy project, and something else left for December, and I decided I'd rather have Herman in December, and Queen Mariposa is the other. No, Reindeer. Hatter and a Reindeer would be the last 2 projects for the year, so I decided to work on Hatter in November, so you will see Hatter, and save this for December, where it's a little more hectic time-wise, and especially because of stuff going on here aside from holidays. Yeah. So, Herman of Copenhagen. You will see that more in December. So I need to get 44 hours total on it, and I have 19, so that leaves me a bit to go. Let's save that for the end. This is just Nan Winter Mouse scissor roll. Okay, so I put her on the floor. Now she's gonna eat, so you're probably gonna hear dog food crunching. Sorry. So this is just Nan Winter Mouse scissor roll, and I'm in the magazine monthly challenge group run by Robin Hall and Carolyn Zook of Zook Stitch and Bird's Eye Stitching on Flosstube. And the premise is to work on something that they put up an acrostic and a theme, and you work on the theme from a magazine and the acrostic from whatever. Trying to work on magazine projects is the goal. But this one I put down for F for Frisia, because the mouse there is named Frisia. And I know there's so much glare, but there you go. So I have the mouse finished. It's upstairs in my craft room, and I've been working on the needle roll portion of it during my lunch breaks, and you don't even want to see that mess. Here's where it was when you last saw it. And here it is now. So I've been kind of color completing, where I'm taking whatever colors need to finish this and then working them in wherever else it needs to be done. So this is the end of it, I believe. And there are mice on sleds here. There are some over one birds and such on this. But this is where it's at now. And I probably could have this finished, could have had this finished by now if I didn't start a new project. So this one did not, it got put aside for a different project for the month of November for my lunchtime stitching. But that was for F in the monthly magazine. This project is in project bag that I got from Kim at Stitch and Stuff, and we are doing this project as a stitch along. We both started it in May of this year, and this is Dimensions Simplicity Vintage. Or is it Vintage? It is Simplicity Vintage. There's the title there. And here's where it was when you last saw it. And here it is now. I've been working in this area and filling in. I changed out the fabric from the 14 count Ada that was in the kit to a 28 count Lugana that I had in my stash. One moment. Okay. So she's currently going outside, so demanding right when I'm filming, of course. So anyways, Simplicity Vintage, stitch 2/2 on 28 count Lugana, I believe, that I've had in my stash. And that's where it's at. I only worked on this, I believe it was only one day since my last video. So that's where that one is. Now, this next project, sorry about the zippers, I thought I had them all open, if you've been with me for a while, you know that I've started back in 2017 all of the Nora Corbett Christmas Eve Couriers. Yes, Maynia of 2017. And I have 5 of them left to go. And the Sleigh. So what I thought I would do this year is I was going to do Manic Monday, where I would stitch on something that I worked on or started for Maynia on Mondays. That hasn't been working. So then somebody, I don't know who it was it Amy from Mimi Stitchery, who had brought up the idea of snow day stitching, where you work on a certain project that has snow on a day that it's snowing. I don't know where I saw it, but anyways, so I thought, well, I'll use that for the reindeer, because, you know, I live in Canada, and that'll mean it'll get some progress. So what I've been doing is putting a star across wherever there was snow, and the plan was just one strand is all I'm committing myself to, and then I can move on to other stuff. And as you can see, this series of X's here is pretty close to the snow days. Some days I did multiple strands. So yeah, that is how this project has gotten as much progress as it did, because I'll show you where it was when you last saw it. So this is Blitzen by Nora Corbett, part of the Christmas Eve Couriers collection, and you saw where it was, and as you could see, I have a bobbin of floss stuck in there. Really just the main part of the body was done. Well, here is where it's at now. He has a head, she has a head, and the antlers and even the greenery up in the corner has been started. So that's where that's at. This is stitched on 32 count Nocturne Belfast linen by Picture This Plus. So yeah, that's the start of that corner. So there's the trees along the bottom, this greenery in this corner, all the beads, and I'm not sure where my number 204 Karen water lilies went. I know I had lots of it. But I may have used up all that I wanted to. You know, it was quite variegated, with reds and greens, and it's used in the greenery, so I tried to just stick with the greenish portion of it. But anyways, that's where that one is. Now we're getting into bigger projects. looking to either side, deciding which one do I show you first. I will show you Hatter, which is the one that I'm working on to get my WIPGO goal met for the year, because technically it's not called until December, because we know what is left. This is by Gecko Rouge. Artwork by Couriers and charted by Gecko Rouge. I have the kit and the digital backup, so I am using Pattern Keeper on it now. It really does make a difference. If you're on the fence about using Pattern Keeper, just try it, because it really does help. So here's where it was last time you saw it. And here it is now. So I have filled in, there was one very light color in the hand here to do, and then I came over here and started bringing this side up to this line here, and just filling in, going up, filling in as much as I can. And then I also came down here because this is much lower, and I started to do the same thing, just filling in wherever the thread took me. I did want to get a lot of the park threads done, but I am still parking. I just pick a section and focus on that area, filling in basically the block, radiating outwards with that color as far as it will go comfortably. I don't use this grid for counting. I use it more for, it's just for verifying where my stitches are. If I'm off by anything, I will be able to tell, because it's on the wrong side of the grid. Because this is a 20 by 20 grid, not a 10 by 10, so that means it's not lining up with the 10 by 10 grids on the Pattern Keeper. Yeah. Okay. So far I have 17.5 hours on the Gecko Rouge project, which is also, I'm counting it for G on the monthly magazine challenge group because of Gecko Rouge. That one. Running out of space to put my piles of stuff. Okay. This is another WIPGO pattern that I've slacked off on. I've needed to catch up, and I have done that. I have met both squares. I had put this down in 2 spaces. This is Queen Mariposa by Mirabilia. Here's where it was when you last saw it. And here it is now. So I've rolled the frame up so that I could bring the dress down more. And yeah, really I've just been working on the red parts here, and I've done some filling in here. This here is actually the vase on the side. So that's, you know, moving out of the dress into other areas. Camera is doing funny things with the color, but we just keep going. So this is stitched 2 over 2 and 32 count. I did know what it was. Here's the color. Zephyr by Picture This Plus, 32 count Belfast linen. And that's where it's at. Now let me just move the needle minder a little bit, because it's kind of interrupting the picture stitching, but there it is. The bodice is completely done. Any blanks there is all beads. This one has a lot of beads across that center blue white area. Lots and lots of beads going across there. So that'll be fun. I don't mind beading, it's just finding a good setup. Okay, let's get this one. This is my Chatelaine. This is Royal Tudor Mandala by Chatelaine. I'm stitching it 2 over 2 with the called for silks on 32 count white opalescent. Not a special hand dye or anything. Here's where it was when you last saw it. And here it is now. But I'm trying to figure out what I would have been working on since you last saw it, because it's been so long since my last video. I am pretty sure all of these Jessica stitches are new. All of this fill in, everything there is new. The pile of stuff is in the way. And, you know, gradually getting into the over 1 there. And if I remember, I believe I messed up on the over 1 part, but it's really not going to affect it. I'm just, you know, going to fudge it. Who's going to look that closely? It's not filled in. The white part is not done. So my goal for this year was to be halfway finished, and I'm getting there. One of the things that I realized when I was working on it this time was that I need magnification, because just doing the Jessica stitches, really that's all I need the magnification for, is because the stitches are getting crowded, and yeah. So this did get put away for a little while, and I did buy some clip-on magnifiers, and they work great. But there's a small problem in that I can't see my chart because I have these magnifiers on. Yeah, I'll figure it out. Okay, there's a tag right there. It's just okay. Stitching shelf. Another stitch along that I'm in with Kim from Stitch and Stuff, and also with Carolyn Zook from C Zook Stitch. We decided in August, well, we decided a lot earlier than August, but August 12th, World Cross Stitch Day, we started Stitching Shelf together. And I've been working on it pretty regularly. I alternate between my full coverage pieces, and I've been doing the stitch 1,000 stitches, put it aside, and pick up the next one, stitch 1,000 stitches, put it aside, pick up the next one. That's mostly rotating between this and inner depths. Hatter might come into the picture maybe next year, simply because I do want to get Hatter finished eventually. And it's the one that's furthest along, and these ones are technically they're the same size, they're just the opposite orientation, so that is visually throws you off, confusing. But this is a stitching shelf. Look at where it was last time. And here it is now. So I decided to focus on the butterfly, and then I came over here and just started to fill in more of this. So that's where it is right now, and there's also the rabbit down here is starting to appear. I've been considering moving the scroll rod, the Q-snap, to bring the border over more in one direction or the other. I'm just not sure which way I want to go. And because of that, because I'm stumped in that fashion, I am just filling in what I've been doing. Yeah, so this is about 2,000 stitches more than it was the last time you saw it. Maybe even 3. I did not write down where I am currently. But it will be in the rotation again soon, because I'm about 200 stitches away from inner depths being switched out. Speaking of inner depths, I think that's the last whip to show you. So let me get it. Okay, so this is what stitching shelf is supposed to look like, because I don't think I posted that. And this is what inner depths is supposed to look like. This is charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. It's artwork by Chris Ortega. And it's on my table stand. So there it is. And I am working my way across in the second set of 10 typewriter style by block, not by row. This is something that Stitching Mommy mentioned recently in her videos, was that she was doing it row by row. I don't do that. I do by 10 by 10 grid. I try to finish this 10 by 10 grid, work over here, try to finish this one. But I also am parking. She's not parking in her, the way that she's doing the typewriter method. I am going as far as I can with the color, and if it ends up, I'll go, you know, 10, 20 stitches, whatever, as long as I'm comfortable counting that far, and then I will park it. There's also some away waste knots there for, because this frame is not the easiest to flip over, and I just have not even bothered to learn the pin stitch for stopping. Maybe I should. This is stitch 2 over 1/2 cross on 25 count even weave, probably Lugana. It's got the orange stripes. I think that means it's Zweigart. I'm so lost on some of these fabrics sometimes. So anyways, that's where that's at. And we are at about 800 stitches in my 1,000. So I need about 200 more before I rotate this out for a stitching shelf. This I have no particular goals on, but the stitching shelf, it would be nice to get 3,000 stitches a month. Currently, I think I'm not hitting that goal. I think, well, that's not true. I mean, I think I've hit 2,000, and we have a couple days left. If I go to a big chunk of color, a solid color, I might be able to get that 1,000 in. Maybe not by the end of the month, though. Okay. So, you've seen Royal Tudor, you've seen Simplicity. And who would be texting me now? Come on. Can't even tell. Okay. Okay. You've seen this Just Nan scissor roll, inner depths, stitching shelf, Blitzen, Hatter, Permin, Queen Mariposa, Sunflower Sampler, and now the 2 new starts. Okay. The first new start, I started November 1st because November is the month of Remembrance Day in Canada and Great Britain. I believe it's Remembrance Day. In the US, I believe it's Veterans Day. I don't know that the US does as big of a production as we do. I don't know how it is around the rest of the world. I think Australia also does Remembrance Day. But anyways, this pattern I saw last year on Judy the City Stitcher's channel, and as soon as I saw it, I wanted it, and I put it on a wish list. I actually had to email my husband the website to get it at because it's a hard to find project. And I got it for Christmas that last year. And so I started to kit it up in about October to see if I had whatever I could from my stash to start this. And I started it. And this is Remember November. by XJudeDesigns. It is hard to find a hard copy, but I did, when I started this, I had posted it on Facebook and somebody had asked me about it, and I did see that XJudeDesigns has a Etsy store, and it was available there. A couple of days ago, I went back to the Etsy site, and it was closed for whatever reason. So I don't know if you can get it currently or not. So you start, so there is no before. And I made a couple of substitutions, and then I also had to wait for floss because I just didn't have those colors. So here it is. I'm trying to find, so here's as far as I got. So it obviously started in the middle with the Remember. This is 32 count white, maybe antique white. I think it's just white. Linen that my son had bought me for the just Nan design, which I'm using smaller chunks from my stash because the mouse that was supposed to be stitched on this only requires like 3.5 inches by 3.5, and he got me a fat quarter. I wasn't gonna chop into it for that, but this I would. So this is, it is not the called for fabric. It calls for antique white. I believe it looks more yeah, antique white Jobelin, but I like the harshness of it, the brightness of it, the way the reds pop. So yeah, so that's what it looks like. Now all of this fine scroll work here is a silk Caron water lilies, which I placed an order with 123, and I thought that's the number that I had ordered, but apparently I didn't. I ordered something else, and I do have this water lily. It is 139. But the problem is this is being used on Royal Tudor Mandala, and because there could be a significant dye lot issue, I don't want to use this for something else until that one is finished. So then I went into my stash and I thought, well, what about other options? So I'm considering endive or moss. But it doesn't have the purplish gray kind of dye parts of it. So that might put it off for a little bit, but it also calls for Gentle Arts Black Raspberry Jam to be make a French knot along with a DMC variegated to do the French knots to make the poppy seeds. Well, I have wrought iron, and I think I might just make the poppy seeds with this instead. But for now, I think it's going to go into not time out, but just it's had its, you know, rotation. I also used the PB05 black treasure braid for this border where it called for a splendor. I was like, I don't need to buy a whole thing of splendor just so that I could do 2 rows of X's. So I did that. Remember November. When will it come out again? I'm not entirely sure. Without that one thread to do most of the background work, it's hard to find where to place the rest of the poppies. So that's why it's gonna just go away until I get that other thread. This next one is a big start. It's something that I've had in my stash for a very long time, and I decided that I'm just going to start it. If you go back in my videos about June, I did a stash dive fabric finding mission to match patterns with fabric that I already had in my stash to patterns that I really wanted to work on. And so I decided I have the fabric. It's all DMC. Well, it's not entirely DMC, but this is from the Treasures in Needlework premiere issue, so issue number 1, and it was published in 1992, I believe. Yeah, I wasn't even stitching then, but I found this book, this magazine, in a bookstore, a used bookstore, and grabbed it. And I mean, this is only one of the magnificent patterns in here. The Pageant Kings. This is designed by Sandy Orton, I believe. And they stitched it on 28 count. Let me get this right. Designed by Sandy Orton. Stitched on 2 threads on Jobelin, using 3 strands for cross stitch. And there are beads. And there are specialty stitches. And there is Kreinik blending filament. Back when I first started stitching, I was using all kinds of blending filament all the time. Doesn't bother me. It's a little bit tedious, but I am stitching mine on, I was just trying to find the color name, but Denim Blue Jobelin. I'm stitching mine on 32 count Misty Blue Belfast linen. I had a big piece and didn't need all of it for this. And yeah, lots and lots of DMC. And I have 3 of the required which of the other ones over there? Blending filament. And I still have a lot more to buy. Now right now, honestly, this is anxiety inducing, but that's some of the DMC. Here's this, some more. Yeah, it's just all thrown in the bag right now. But here is where it's at. Now let's see if I can. So yeah, there is there's a needle here somewhere. Okay. With a strand of DMC and 2 strands of blending filament. That I am done with for now. Ah, I wish you could see all the sparkle. Because all of this dark blue here, in there, all the dark blue spots there, that's all sparkly. So he is almost completely finished. He's holding a gift, a treasure box, and yeah, I can move the Q snap and start working on his face. That's him. Now, they called for 3 strands on 28 count. I am not doing 3 strands on 32 count. So I am doing it 2 strands, and where it calls for blends, because there are blends, and it's 2 strands of this color with 1 strand of that, I'm using 1 of each. None of the colors seem to be duplicated. Like, you know, 2 strands of color A with 1 strand of color B, and then 1 strand of color A and 2 strands of color B. So I think what I'm doing is going to be fine. The blending filament they are using, they call for 2 strands of DMC and 2 strands of blending filament. I'm using 1 strand DMC, 2 strands blending filament. I like the coverage just fine. There are beads, but it doesn't actually give you Mill Hill color numbers or any brand of bead color numbers at all. It just has gold seed beads, scarlet seed beads, jade seed beads, and pink seed beads. So I'm gonna have to figure out how much there are of those and just, you know, go into my Mill Hill collection and see what we can do. But that's where it's at. And this is about a week of progress. I believe I started on Sunday. It is now Sunday. That's all I worked on in the evenings. So, yeah, very happy with that. Plans for it, future stitching wise, I am currently enjoying working on it, so I might continue. But I do want to point out this chart is a color chart, and it's on 4 magazine pages, and this design is quite large. Okay, it's not. Oh, there it is. It's 255 by 174. And the chart itself is very tight, small grid. I'm going to show you a very small piece of it right there. So what I've done is I actually just took my tablet, took a picture of it straight down, and I'm using my tablet zooming in on the design. Some of the symbols are fuzzy, so I have the magazine sitting right beside me to refer back to. I realized I have made a design change because in here, those blue stitches, there's supposed to be a quarter stitch off of each corner. I did not realize that. So it is the blue all the way, the lighter blue all the way around it. Nobody but me and you will know that. So also this design is very good for representation matters. Here's a close-up of the faces. There's a lot of detail there. Yeah. So, new start number 2. And that is it for the stitching. Now we're going to get into investments. I have a couple. It's been 5 weeks. All I've really done is buy floss, and then, you know, since you're getting floss anyways, throw in a pattern. I've made 2 orders with 1, 2, 3 since my last video, and I've been seeing people stitch this up, so I had to grab it. Tiny Town, Halloween Town. So that'll be a next year new start. My most recent order, I decided to go ahead and grab the 2022 Christmas Ornament Edition because I've looked through it. There are things that I like, there are some things that I don't like, but taste changes, and there might be something in here that I like next time I go through it. I don't know why my fridge just blinged, but one of the ones that I like, let me see if I can find it here. I do like the back of the antique car with the wreath. So, yeah. Always good to have for future exchanges and such. The other project that I bought and started to kit up is Carolyn from Seasick Stitch. It's her fault. She had her and Robin did a video together and they showed this design, and I immediately went over to 123 and added it to my cart. So I have the chart, I have most of the threads, I have a piece of fabric here. This is the piece of fabric that's left over from Remember November. but I don't think it's big enough. But I have a piece of 35 count Edinburgh linen upstairs that I can take a piece off of that. And I've considered doing it 1/1. We'll see. And then, I don't know. Yeah, I was watching Tanya, the Scarlet Stitcher, and she was talking about a stitch along that's going to be happening soon for Fancy Lady. I have so many Fancy Ladies started. Do I really need to start another? I do. And there is another reason behind this, but I don't have everything yet. So the one that I'm going to start with, it's not her stitch along, it's Teresa Little Stitcher's stitch along. And Tanya is the one that I heard about it from. She's also going to be stitching in Mirabilia. It's been a while since I saw the video, so I can't really remember which one it was, but I decided that I'm gonna start Zelda. Now I believe it's a New Year stitch along, like it's not going to be happening in December. I might have the information wrong. I'm still working on kitting it up. I don't have a piece of fabric selected. I might go through my fabric stash soon and see if I can find something for that. I think I do have a piece of 32 count something gray by XJudeDesigns that would be good for that. But I'm also thinking a pink background might be nice, but we'll see. So I don't know how long this video is, but I bet you it's pretty long. The other thing that I invested in was a 10-year planner. Also Judy's fault. So it's really just monthly calendars for the next 10 years with a goal notes in between the years. This might not be the exact one that she showed. So I've just been going through it and mostly just been using pencil and post-it notes, because plans, I'm not even going to call it plans anymore. They're intentions. My intention is to start Camberley Sampler whenever Robin and Carolyn say let's start it. I'm right there. So it's on a post-it note. Where it will get started is yet to be determined. Zelda is somewhere in the new year, and Christmas in London is something, also a Mirabilia, that I've been really wanting to start. Tina from Stitching Tina, or Fancy Lady Cross Stitch and Stitches, was her original channel. That's more knitting focused now. She hasn't done a lot of cross stitch lately, and we had been discussing starting Christmas in London. So I don't think these are these are definitely not all going to be started in January. These are just some of the ones I do want to start, so they'll find a place eventually. For example, October Halloween Tiny Town. It'll be in here somewhere, I believe. I just put them on post-its just so that I can remember that I wanted to do those particular projects. Maybe the moth. I won the kit from Sarah at our Stitching Kingdom, and it's ready to go. I just need to pick a day. So 10-year planner, how well that'll work, I don't know. That is all that I have for investments and stitching. I plan to be back in 2 weeks. I mean, I could probably be back next week, but I don't know. But there's a lot going on in December. December 11th, my sister is trying to host a baking day for us with her daughter, because I don't have a kitchen yet. And the kitchen cabinets are supposed to be in December 16th. We still have to do the finishing on the lower portion of the cabinets to save us some money, and because they didn't have the color we wanted. So we're going to be doing that the week before Christmas, and I'm not even sure when the installer will be back to install them. Yeah, so craft room, I don't know if you heard earlier, there was some drywall going up, so there's going to be mudding happening pretty soon, and then wallpaper and paint. So I'm not going to promise that the next video will be in the craft room, but it might be. So there's something to look forward to. And I had this sitting in front of me this whole time, and I didn't show you. I believe I did show it in my last video, but the charms all came in, and Dancer is now fully blinged out. The teardrop charm, all of the bicones, and the, oh, what are they called? But anyways, they're all there. All the treasures. So this one just needs to be ironed, and then it can be framed. I don't have any more frames right now, so yeah. So stitching wise, you'll probably see inner depths and stitching shelf and Herman of Copenhagen. And what was the other one that was left? Queen Mariposa got all the hours. Reindeer. It's probably gonna snow more, so yeah, reindeer. I might not be working on the same reindeer, but maybe you'll see another reindeer. So I think that is it. I think you're all caught up. It's been a long time, and it's probably a long video, so if you sat through the whole thing all at once, good for you. If you took it little bit by little bit, I don't blame you. I have done that with multiple videos in the past, or I watch it on, 1.5 speed. So until next time, take care of yourself, take care of each other, Be kind. Happy stitching. Bye.